Hi everyone. So in June of 2021, I bought a 2007 Toyota Sienna minivan. This video is about how I converted this minivan into a camper. There are many features on this minivan that I haven't seen in other YouTube videos. So if you're interested in converting your minivan into a camper, you might find this video useful. We'll talk about how I installed recessed lighting and lighting that is dimmable in the minivan. And I did this without removing the headliner. I also installed a vent fan in the minivan without removing the headliner. I also have a rear view mirror camera, and the display for the camera attaches in front of your normal rear view mirror. And the rear view mirror camera is a nice upgrade from your normal rear view mirror because it has a wider viewing angle, so you have fewer blind spots while driving. It's really nice. My bed has lots of storage underneath the bed, and it can hold a tailgater tire table under the bed, and also a zero gravity camping chair, which is a camping chair that can recline. Also, there's plenty of storage in addition to those two items under the bed. The frame for the bed is the frame used in an REI Kingdom cot. And I made several modifications to the frame, but that's the main structure for the bed. The camper can also have a heater attached to it. I cut two holes in the side of the minivan, and so plenty of heat can be provided to the camper. And this is a Zodi hot vent tent heater. Also, with this hole, you can put in a screen. And so this can provide plenty of ventilation and fresh air to the minivan. And so let's talk about all these different topics. And we'll start on the bed, and we'll end with some pictures from Mineral King, which is one of my favorite places to car camp and hike and fish. The bed is the centerpiece for my minivan camper build. This is what my bed looks like when the bed is made. The bed is 6 feet long and about 38 or 39 inches wide. When I sleep on the bed, my feet dangle over the edge because I'm about 6 feet tall. This doesn't bother me, but it can bother some people, but I don't mind. Here's another view of the bed. And this is what the bed looks like without the mattress and without the pillow and without the blankets. And as I mentioned in the introduction, the main structure for this bed is the frame of an REI Kingdom Cot 3 cot. This is the REI Kingdom Cot 3 before any modifications are made to the cot. And here are the main modifications that I made to the cot to accommodate my bed. I'll point out that I drilled two holes in this crossbar here, and I removed this piece, and then I moved this piece over to here. So returning to the bed, let's look at this back side of the bed first. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, I made two holes in that crossbar. And the holes line up with two holes that already exist in the minivan. And the holes in the minivan are threaded. So all I had to do was to put two screws in here, and then it cinched the whole frame of the cot against the minivan. It made it nice and secure. The back side of this bed can be adjusted to many different heights because of these two knobs here, which have interlocking teeth. So you just, you lift up the back part of this bed, and then you turn these knobs here, and then the teeth lock into place at whatever height you like. Also, there's a lip here, and then this metal plate here, which also provides a lip. And so this provides some extra structure to this span of plywood here. So when you lay on the bed, this part of the plywood doesn't sag. It makes it stiffer. And same for over here. Also, I drilled a small hole in this metal plate here so I could, when I put my tailgater tire table under the bed and my chair, I can put a pin in this plate, and that secures my tailgate or tire table and keeps it from sliding around. And here you can see my chair that fits underneath the bed. I didn't bring my tailgate or tire table on my most recent trip to Mineral King, so that's not in the picture. The other obstacle that I encountered for this chair is that the chair can't just fit directly in under the bed. This piece here has to be removable. So let's take a look at that. Here we can see that upper piece removed, which then provides enough clearance for the chair to fit under the bed. Another thing I want to mention is how I attached this 2x4 to the minivan. So here and then over here, you'll see some threaded rod. And what I did was I gradually bent a piece of threaded rod. Now, you can't just take a piece of threaded rod and make a 90-degree angle. That will snap the rod. But you can make, say, 3 30-degree bends, and then you can, and that won't snap the rod. So what I did was I made 3 gradual bends in this rod and in this rod, and then I drilled a hole through the 2x4 and drilled a hole through the 2x4 over here. And then, since the overall bend was 90 degrees, then I could put a nut on the other side of the threaded rod and a nut over here too, and secure the 2x4 to the frame of the minivan. Okay, now let's look at the front part of the minivan. And you'll see here a piano hinge. So when that front part is folded up, this is what you see. And you can see here that there's plenty of space for my zero gravity chair and for my tailgate or tire table. And then under here, there's also this big tub area for most of my stuff. And then there's also storage even on the side for skis or clothes or whatever other items you want to put on the side. So then when the piano hinge is unfolded, you can see how there's this support here, and that will allow the whole bed to extend out. And you can also see that I cut the mattress into 2 pieces, one large piece and then a smaller piece here. Here's that smaller piece. I made the smaller piece so that some pillowcases could fit around that smaller piece. I'm not very good at sewing, and just cutting the mattress to the correct size for pillowcases works fine for me. Also, if you notice that the main section here is one continuous piece, so that my shoulders and my hips don't feel any split. But like if you were to have, say, 4 or 5 cushions or 3 or 4 cushions, you might notice that inevitably your hips or your shoulders will be right at that crease between 2 different cushions. So by having the main piece really big and then just this smaller piece here, I don't notice any division of the mattress, any crease, because it's just your calves and your feet down here. So this is that support piece, and the end of this is folded back up, via the piano hinge. And then that small support piece can be tucked underneath. And then I also have, it's not shown in this picture, but I have a milk crate with a lid on it, and that can serve as a coffee table. So I have lots of floor space when the bed is folded up like this, and then that other cushion can be thrown back here, and I can just sit on the edge of this bed. Or I could adjust the back part of the bed to make a recliner type thing and prop my feet on the milk crate. There's lots of different things I can do. I should have made the bed before I took this picture. The mattress is a 5-inch memory foam mattress that I bought at Wayfair, and 4 inches of this mattress are the firm type of memory foam, and then there's 1 inch of that squishier blue memory foam. It's a nice combination, and it's fine for me. I don't notice my hips or my shoulders pressing against the plywood base. I think you get diminishing returns as you get thicker and thicker mattresses. I think once you find a mattress that's thick enough so that you don't press against the base of the bed, then you're fine. And in my case, this 5-inch memory foam mattress works great. Also, this mattress is bendy enough so that when I bend the back part of the bed, I don't have much resistance from this mattress. Oh, and there's one last detail I wanted to mention. I have window coverings for my minivan, and the window covering for the back window, it tends to flop out because this window is at a diagonal. So I installed these right angle bracket type things so that the window covering can be pushed up and then supported so that it won't flop out. It's not really related to the bed, but I just thought I'd mention that here. So it's very important for me to have a comfortable chair on my car camping trips. And the most comfortable chair that I've found is a zero gravity chair. And the nicest feature of it is that this chair can recline. There was one obstacle though with having this chair, and that is that it was a little bit too wide to fit under my bed without some modifications. The problem is that these handhelds were a little bit too wide. So this is what I did to resolve that problem. I took a hacksaw blade, and I think I just held it with a glove, the blade, and I just cut and trimmed the handholds so that they were more narrow. And then the chair could fit under my bed. Here's another picture of the chair under my bed. So now let's talk about my lighting setup. It's important for me to have bright lights and lights that are dimmable in my minivan. So here we can see the lights set to their highest brightness, and these lights are also recessed, and I put them in the headliner without removing the headliner. So let's see how I did that. The secret is these marine boat hatches, or marine boat inspection hatches. So what I did was I cut the headliner so that this trim piece could fit in the headliner, and then I used a hole saw and I cut a hole in the cap here so the light fits in this cap, and then the wiring can be pushed through the headliner between the roof of the minivan and the headliner to my dimmer knobs. So it worked out just great, and let's take a look at how it looks. So this is how it looks. Now, if you're a fan of Star Trek: The Next Generation, I think you know what question I'm going to ask. How many lights do you see? How many? I offer you a lifetime of good food and comfort and funny jokes if you just tell me how many lights do you see? And of course, we know the answer from what Captain Picard said. There are 4 lights. Okay, that's my only funny joke for this video, unless I think of another one. So this is the corner light, and the thickness of the trim piece is enough so that I was able to slather a whole bunch of marine epoxy and make it just fit tightly against the headliner in this corner. And of course, if you try to rip it down with your arm, like trying to do a one-arm pull-up or something, it'll come down. But for just normal use, it's nice and secure. It's stayed there for over a year at this point. And then the wiring all makes its way down to this other boat inspection hatch, and the wiring's all behind that. And the wiring goes to these dimmer knobs. So 3 of the lights, the 3 that are overhead, are connected to this dimmer knob, and then the reading light, the one in the corner, is connected to this dimmer knob. So that's my lighting situation. I would say that good ventilation is almost as important as having a comfortable mattress in a minivan. So the way air circulates in my minivan is that there's a hole in the side here, so air can come in through the side, and then it travels through the roof where the vent fan is, and the vent fan, it can only exhaust air. So that's the path of air, and my head is located near where the air enters into the minivan. Here's the vent fan, And I was able to install this without removing the headliner, just as I was able to install the lights without removing the headliner. And the way I was able to do that was I could unscrew the cap for this boat inspection hatch, and then between the headliner and the roof of the minivan, I could look and feel and observe where there were structural ribs that went across the minivan, because I didn't want to cut into those structural ribs. So once I could see where those were located, then I could drill a hole for the vent fan in a place that didn't hit the structural ribs. So I did all that without removing the headliner, which saved a lot of work. Here's a close-up view of the vent fan. And here's what it looks like from the top. I slathered a bunch of Flex Seal around the top of this vent fan, and it might need another coat soon, but I haven't seen any leaks yet. So this is the side of the minivan again, and you can see that I bought 3 boat inspection hatches, and the purpose was so I could have 3 of these caps. And so one is solid for normal driving. This one I put a bug screen on, so in the summertime I could have nice fresh air brought in. And then this third one is for the heater setup, and there's a small hole in the cap, and then a plexiglass window that covers the hole. So this is so I can observe the flame of my Zodi hot vent tent heater when I have the heater going. So here's a close-up of the screen, and you can see also this other hole which brings in warm air when I have my heater set up. And this is my heater setup. So the way this is held is with a tricep exercise bar. You know those exercise bars for tricep extensions? So that has been repurposed as the support for the Zodi hot vent tent heater. And then I just use a hacksaw and I cut the ends a little bit shorter. And so the way this works is that there's a burner here, and cold air is brought in, and then the burner heats up copper tubes, and then the cold air flows through the hot copper tubes and warms up, so then warm air enters into the minivan. This is one of the connectors. So this goes inside the minivan, and this is wrapped around a pipe that's bent at a 45-degree angle. It's an exhaust pipe of some sort, and I bought it at O'Reilly Auto Parts. That's that same exhaust piece that I showed you in the previous slide. And here we can see how the heater looks from inside the minivan. And so the nice thing is that I can reach and adjust the flame size from inside the minivan without going outside. Also, you can't see it here, but there's another small hole so I can light the burner while I'm inside the minivan as well. And then I can use the cap that I talked about in a previous slide that has a plexiglass window so I can observe the flame. And that brings in warm air, which is really nice. Oh, and then this dimmer knob adjusts the fan that brings in the air. So I can have it bring in air full blast or adjust the rate at which the air flows in from this dimmer knob. And there's a 12-volt socket on the outside of the minivan where the fan plugs in. So I don't have to bring in that cord inside the minivan. I'm really happy with my rear view mirror camera. Here's what it looks like at the back of my minivan, and the display for the rear view mirror camera fits in front of your normal rear view mirror. So it looks like this, and then this is what it looks like while you're driving. And so the viewing angle is much wider than your normal rear view mirror, which almost completely eliminates your blind spots. And the camera has another feature, and that is when you switch into reverse, the display shifts to a lower angle, so then you can see the lines for backing into a parking spot, which I really like. One potential problem with my rear view mirror camera as I have it installed is that water can sometimes cling to the window on that outside enclosure for the camera. And so I'm going to try this Rain-X hydrophobic spray to discourage water from clinging to that window. I recently drove during the rain, and it wasn't a big deal, but I think this would really resolve the issue. And if it doesn't, I could perhaps buy a motor and connect some type of wiper to it and connect another dimming knob to control the motor speed and have some kind of mini wiper system attached. But I hope I can avoid that, and I hope that this spray will address that issue. And I think it will. The spare tire for my 2007 Toyota Sienna minivan is located behind the front passenger seat. And so to access a spare tire, I installed this boat inspection hatch, and then the cap can pop off, and then there's this nut that you can turn, which then lowers the spare tire. And so it's important to have access to the spare tire in case you get a flat tire. So it's a small detail, but an important detail. Let's take a look at my cooking setup, which is pretty simple. I have a tricep extension bar, and then resting on top of the extension bar, there's a single burner propane cooktop. Beneath the cooktop is a milk crate with a piece of wood on top of it as a lid, and I have a pot and a pan and some utensils and a funnel. I think that's everything that I have under there. This is the setup zoomed in, and these clamps are also important. We'll get into that in just a moment. So here we are, and we can see the cooktop in action. I like using propane more than butane because my 1 pound propane bottles are refillable. So I can use that over and over again, and I can start off a trip with all of my 1 pound propane bottles full. And you can see how this is a nice setup for cooking. And then for a table, let's look at that. For a table, I just took the lid from the milk crate and I put that on top of the tricep extension bar and just clamped it. And then I have a very convenient table for cooking, or for eating. It's also a nice coffee table for resting your feet or whatever you need to do. And then the whole cooking setup can be brought outside of the minivan and used outside, which is really nice too. And so I like to cook my breakfast inside my minivan, usually when it's cold outside. And then during the day, I can bring all my cooking stuff outside and cook at a camp table. I also have a way of cooking on my tailgate or tire table or out the back. But usually there are enough bugs around that I don't like cooking out of the back of my minivan because that just lets all the bugs inside. So if I'm cooking outside, I'll either use a picnic table or the tailgate or tire table on the side back tire. I like to be clean before I go to bed. So let's look at how I accomplish that. Once again, we refer to my cooking setup. And what I like to do is take a sponge bath most of the time. So here I am heating up some hot water with my cooking setup. And you can see there's a vent fan here also, so I have plenty of air circulation. And I've also put window coverings around all the windows. And then I have my lights turned on to the maximum brightness. And very little light escapes when I have my window coverings on. So what I like to do for me for when I bathe is I like to use baby wipes and cover all the key areas, and that gets me about, I'd say, 80% clean. And then with the water that I heated up, I have my funnel and I transfer the hot water into this weed sprayer, and then I just take a sponge bath, and I can sit on the milk crate as a place to spray myself and wipe myself down. And that gets me, I would say, about 95% clean, maybe almost 100% clean compared to a normal shower. And if I really want to go all out, if I almost always have leftover water, I could step outside and dump all of this water on top of me and then it feels like a true shower, and then come back inside and dry myself off. And then I'm nice and clean, ready for bed. And I just sleep better when I'm clean before I go to bed. So that's my routine. My electrical needs are pretty minimal because I don't run a refrigerator in my minivan. I only travel part-time on trips, and so I just use a cooler, which works fine for me. So the only things I need to power are my lights and my fans and my phone. So I put together a battery box myself, and I bought a 35 amp hour AGM battery. That works fine. If I were to do it again, I would probably buy one of those pre-made power stations because it would have saved me some effort and it would have produced a better product. But what I have is fine. The battery can be recharged while I'm driving through this socket here. And then the boat inspection hatch where I have all the dimmer knobs for the lights and the fans, all of those wires eventually make their way, or the power for all of those wires eventually makes its way to this cord here and then to this socket here. And here's the boat inspection hatch that has the dimmer knobs. So that's how I run my electrical stuff. Well, we've made it to the last segment. You can let me know in the comments if you made it to this last segment, where I'm going to talk about Mineral King, one of my favorite places to car camp and hike and fish. Here's a picture of me at Mineral King from a previous trip. This isn't from my most recent trip, but this is the beautiful Mineral King Valley. This is the uppermost of the mosquito lakes. It's so pretty. And then at the lowest mosquito lake, I caught 4 trout in 12 minutes. It was like I was shooting free throws. I'd cast, catch a fish, cast, catch a fish. I caught 3 in a row like that, and then I caught the 4th one just a few minutes after that. So I cleaned them at the lake, cleaned the trout at the lake, and then here I am cooking them at the campsite. This is the view from Sawtooth Pass, and in the distance over here, this is Mount Whitney, which is about 40 miles away as the crow flies, and I think this is Mount Langley, the other 14,000 foot mountain that's near Mount Whitney. And this is Columbine Lake. These are foxtail pines, and they're close relatives to bristlecone pine trees. They're just wonderful trees. They don't live as long as bristlecone pine trees, but they still can live over 2,000 years. Here's a deer I saw on the way down from the hike down from Mosquito Lakes. Oh, and this is an owl I saw in the forest. Let's take a close-up of that. There it is, the close-up of the owl. And that's everything. Thanks for watching. Oh, and this is not at Mineral King, obviously. This is my cat, the Bellysaurus, Mr. B, the heavy burden. Anyway, he's a good boy. So thanks for watching.